Why are men so scared to be vulnerable? Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About It podcast by SafeTalk, where we cover topics that are important and unspoken in mental health. Guess what we're going to be talking about today? Today we are going to discuss men's mental health, and that's why joining me here today is Professor Maurizio. So welcome, Professor. He is the men's mental health expert. He is the founder of My Masterman, and he is a certified coach who coaches men in their mental health journey. Correct me if I'm wrong. Welcome. It's so good to see you here, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the introduction. It's just perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so when I heard about you, I looked into what you work in, right? You work in men's mental health. So when we talk about mental health is a very broad topic, and it has a lot of communities within it. There's women's mental health. There's also like neurodivergence. There's many different groups. But what is it like? What sparked your interest to work with men's mental health specifically?
I would say what I'm actually very focused on is to, number one, co-creating. I always use, in a very specific way, co-creating communities of men where there is a safe space, where men are able to remove all the masks that usually they use, even within the family. Their own relationship could be partnership, business. And I'm very interested on supporting men on acknowledging all the limitations, the fears and the insecurities they do not let them express what they have inside. After just in Malaysia, about 2.5 years of this hard work on very focused on men's mental health, what I can say, there is a lot of loneliness in the male community, and men in general are very scared and afraid of sharing what is going on in their heart and mind, simply for the fact that they are very much afraid of being judged as a weak. So that I'm supporting them of finding the courage, number one, to connect within themselves, and number two, to be part of a community where they don't feel lonely and then actually can give and take support.
So that's why you start to become the voice for men and help others to work with their mental health, right?
Yeah, but I like to, how I see it, I try as much as possible to remove myself from the equation in order not to inflate the ego, because it's easy, especially when you serve. It can be tricky because then the ego comes up and you start to look at yourself. Oh, Mauri, you are a very good person, you're helping others. And in order to avoid this kind of tricky situation, I see myself as a kind of an instrument. I see myself and I perceive myself as a door opener. And when I say door opener, means that I can, yes, in a way I can lead the way, but to say, hey brother, look, there is an opportunity, there is a way that you can overcome those fears, you can be a better man, that's the way. But the man itself has to take the chance, has to take the power, has to have the drive and the will to go through that door.
Right.
So I would consider myself like a door opener.
Okay, that's a very good way of putting it. And I also look, I work in social media, right? So I look into a lot of different content, and sometimes I come across men's mental health content, and there will always be this like one group of people who would dismiss the topic and like very negative and criticize the fact that people are opening up about men's mental health. But how about your experience? Have you personally had any sort of backlash because you're talking a lot about men's mental health?
Oh, great question. Just was sharing before we started, actually just today. I kind of talked about this gentleman saying that the message that I'm giving out is too soft because man needs to man up. Right. And it's exactly what I'm trying to share with the guys to unlearn. So the process is this, and always honoring our ancestors, our grandfather, great-grandfather, our father itself. They they did not know any better than just to say, you are a man, you can't cry, you are a man, the only emotion that you can show is anger. You are a man, you always have to man up. And doing so, unfortunately, it's very easy, you just can Google it, from the 1980s, the amount of men worldwide, especially number one US, then Europe, is happening around the door, around the corner, in Singapore as well, Korea, South Korea, Japan, the men's suicide is increasing drastically because there is not an outlet for men where they can really be vulnerable. And talking about vulnerability for men is the easiest way to attack this kind of men's work, because the men, like, they feel super confident. They say, no, you can't be vulnerable. Actually, vulnerability, if done in a safe space, if with an action plan on how to overcome it, it's amazingly powerful. Vulnerability, if you do it in the wrong place with the wrong people, can really be harmful. Because yes, people can get advantage of you, but again, in a safe environment with an action plan, acknowledging what is going on in your heart and your mind, and consequently say, okay, I acknowledge this fear, I understand where it comes from, I understand how to manage it, okay, now what am I going to do? So for men, vulnerability is a powerful tool, but being vulnerable, we do have to have an action plan in order to overcome it.
People have this sort of idea and perspective on not only men's mental health, just mental health in general, like, oh, if someone opens up about it, or if someone is diagnosed with a certain, diagnosis, then this person is ill, this person is weak. There's always this sort of negative connotation related to mental health. But I like what you said, that, vulnerability doesn't have to be something that is associated to weakness. It can also be powerful and strength, but a lot of people don't understand it. And I think, I don't know, maybe it's just around my own circle, it's mostly, I see that it's like the older generation that still holds this sort of mindset towards mental health and think that, oh, mental health, then, back in my days, I didn't have this thing. But the thing is that back in their days, it's not that they didn't have any struggles, but they just didn't learn yet what it means and how to navigate through it, right?
Well, absolutely yes. And the point is, the older generations, they never question themselves. So we all know that once we acknowledge that there is a beautiful war within, that without expensive tools, we can just, start to navigate within us, start to acknowledge, say, okay, interesting, I have these patterns. Okay, that's interesting, the way that I react or I get triggered if I hear certain sounds or certain words against me. The point is, a life is possible, is doable. When you don't question yourself, you push yourself, but in the long run, it is going to generate a lot of mental issues, physical issues, because repressing emotions or sugarcoating them, for the short term, it's okay, but they will manifest. And they manifest physically, unfortunately, sometimes in a hardcore way with a hardcore sickness, sometimes with a bit of, mental issues. And going back to the courage, I do a lot of sport, and sometimes it's funny when you see in the gym these big guys, and men perceive courage, maybe go to the pub and I'll show you I can drink 60 beers. Men perceive courage in I'm gonna do the bungee jumping. Men perceive courage of I'm a kind of a hero, which is beautiful. We always preach embrace fully the masculinity. Masculinity means physical force, take care of your body, exercise, nourish it with the best food as possible, have a good rest, discipline, be consistent, be passionate. That's amazing. But what we are learning doing the men's work, a man to be completed 360 degrees has to be a warrior. So again, masculine force, commitment, discipline, consistency. But he has to be able to stand still. He has to be able to close the eyes and go within and say, wait a second, what is going on within me? Connect with the heart. And we are nobody taught us. And the worst warriors, they were the samurais. samurais, the Japanese, so we're talking about 200-300 years ago. And they always said, when it comes to the war, I'm a killer, but when I go back home with my family, I'm a gentleman. So the idea is, again, for men is to embrace the masculine side, but to be able to step into the compassion, into the understanding, into the kindness, starting within ourselves. I want to share something very important, just to give it some numbers. At the moment, I'm running 4 men's circles, 3 in Kuala Lumpur, 1 in Penang. In total, there are almost 350 men, okay?
Wow.
No, they come not per session, but in all the groups that have been created, the community, okay? And I'm so grateful and amazed by these guys. There are locals and foreigners. The demographic goes from 22 years of age until 55. Different walks of life, super inclusive. So I'm really impressed by what is happening. But what I can share is that I can see a lot of guys that are very much lost because they didn't have any male role model. And those guys are the most easy to get trapped in this kind of fake values of, those kind of shouted masculinity.
Right.
So we are trying to give the tools to men to tap into different energies according to the situation they are in. And that, for me, it's a man with capital M. When he is able to really be fully, continuously connected with what there is within.
It's not just one aspect, it's not just masculinity, it's everything that makes men strong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I really like what you're doing. You said you are doing men's circle, right? You have 4 of them. Can you describe what does a men's circle session look like?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, men's circle, in its simplicity, is one of the most powerful experiences a man can really enjoy. We literally sit on a circle like our ancestors did, usually on the floor to be very grounded. And it is a safe space where men do not need to show off, but just to show up. According to the energy or the emotion that they carry within, they can share something, they cannot, just listen. It's a place where men start, number 1, to become good listener, which is very important. Men, we are programmed to give solutions.
Yeah.
Special, I guess, when you have a partner, even my girlfriend comes, and she needs some, she just needs me to listen to her, and I start to give solutions. Say, hey, Mauri, just listen to me. So during the men's circle, we learn to become good listener with others and with ourselves. We learn how to give support without the will of saving anybody else's life. We're just here to support. Number 2. Number 3, we go and we do a proper inner work. Means I share some topics. For example, one of the latest one was, what does it mean for you greatness? How do you envision yourself in order to embrace greatness?
Right.
And then what is holding you back to become a great person? And again, action plan. So man needs action plan because we are beings of action. Okay,
Right.
So it's to where you are at, where you want to be, what is this in between, and the action plan.
And how do I get there? Yeah.
That's right. Or was a beautiful topic, which is very strong for men. How do I know when I am enough? I do have enough, and I'm having enough.
Yeah.
Another one beautiful is how the education we receive from our parents is molding our belief system and behaviors. So those are the topics, So each one of us give out, their own experience, and it's so beautiful. You can see the piece of your story in a guy maybe from Africa, in an Indian guy, in an Italian guy, and a Malaysian guy, and to close it up, and that's actually my mission in life, is to break the illusion of separation.
The barriers.
Yeah, between human beings. It just so happened
Right.
that I'm serving the man community. Maybe one day I will serve the women community, the kids community, the animal community, I don't know. But what I'm sure that I'm going to do is support humans to understand that there is no any separation.
Yeah.
We come from the same, We are the same, and we're gonna go back to the same.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Like even if it's like just men community, there's so much inclusivity inside the community itself. And I love what you do. And you talked a lot about stigma as well, right?
Yeah.
And this, I think, in just mental health awareness speech in general, when we think about mental health awareness, the first, the reason why we raise awareness to begin with is because of the stigma, right? If not of the stigma, we won't raise awareness about it. So can you share one stigma about men's mental health that you dislike the most, just at the top of your head?
Yeah, that a man which is able to openly love himself and others be seen as a weak. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. Basically, men, they do not have to be afraid of acknowledging that, and that's what I see behind every man, even the tough one. When I do coach them one-to-one, they could be a street fighter, they could be, but if you dig down, there is always love. Always love. The point is they don't know, they don't acknowledge it. They don't know. They don't know any better. They don't know how to do it, A lot of guys that struggle to share their love with their wife.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I would say 45% of the guys that join the men's circle or the coach, most of the time are the girlfriend, the mother, the sister, the wife that call me. I'm seriously speaking. In the last men's circle in Penang, we were 12, 13. 6 guys, they came because of the wife.
Wow.
Just interesting data.
Yeah. So it has to start from someone else. But still, they did come to the men's circle. They still work on their mental health, right? Work on themselves.
Yeah. And then usually when they come, they are very much surprised. There's always a bit of resistance from men,
Yeah.
I recently, yesterday, for the first time with Babel, which is a gym, we started, so we found an agreement. I just started yesterday. So from 11 people, they will start to show up, then 10, then 6, and they show up in 3 yesterday. And I've seen the guys, I was professional as usual. I gave whatever I could, to the guys. But I've seen yesterday a lot of very skepticals, And it brought me, it humbled me down a lot yesterday, the experience, because I'm used to deal with men really much into personal growth. And yesterday when I was dealing with these guys, you open up and say, Mauri, you still have to learn a lot. You still have to learn probably how to communicate with these kind of guys. They have no clue about nothing. I asked them, do you have a vision? No.
Yeah.
What is holding you back? I'm okay, my life is good. So I didn't know really how to approach them. So it was a big lesson yesterday, which I'm willing to keep going and learning now. How can I tune my communication skills to a man that is not acknowledging at all that there is some work to do?
Yeah.
And when I'm able to do that, it's going to be interesting to see what comes
True.
up.
And it's not just about like them not acknowledging. They probably don't even know what to look at, how
Zero.
to identify. Yeah.
Zero. Yeah. I want to be a man making money. Okay. Then I ask, no judgment. You can say, I want to be a killer. Okay. There is no judgment. It's important that man does not feel judged, so he's able to take off more and more. And when he takes out more, is there when he start to acknowledge things. So, okay, guys, you want to make money, fantastic. So, what are you willing to sacrifice to make those money?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, yesterday, it was a big lesson. You see, you never stop learning, and I'm looking forward for the next session there to see, other men comes up and see what I can do.
That's amazing. And you also told us that you travel a lot, right?
Yeah.
You're also an Italian, and you've been here for 3 years?
5.
5 years, for 5 years. Is there like any differences, major differences, in the men's mental health, how people treat men's mental health in Asia comparing to, in Europe and America?
Very much good question. So, so from a broader perspective, in general, they go through more or less the same experience. the environment and the education, it does make the difference. So men's work in Northern America, in Europe, I would say that I can see men more keen to open up, and especially more keen to even financially to invest on a coach or on a coaching program, one-to-one group program, to invest in themselves. Here in Malaysia, you have to be brutally honest, I can see some guys ready for that, but financially, even though they are in the position, probably the value that they see on a coaching to improve their own life, probably they might invest better in a car, in maybe go out for dinner or stuff like that. So that's the perception I have at the moment. But I believe that the environment, the education that you receive makes a lot of the difference. And here in Malaysia, so far, I'm absolutely grateful because again, nobody was believing that much in what I'm doing now, and actually it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And I start to have people calling me for partnerships. They're very much interested in what I'm doing. But I would say that generally speaking, all men, they try not to share. Here in Malaysia, I see, there's a lot of stigma. People very much afraid of share. Very much afraid.
I think it also has to be like, Asian culture thing. Even I've never been outside of Malaysia, but just through media and through what I see online, I can see that like the stigma is there, the struggles, everyone is struggling, right? Men, women, but I see people are much more comfortable to voice out about it in like Western countries. But when it comes to Asia, I don't really see anyone talk about men's mental health. So I see that gap in culture-wise. And I think that needs to be changed, right? And I hope that now that you're here and a lot of other people also do the same thing, that maybe this could change on how Malaysian treats mental health.
I'm yes, absolutely, capital yes, because we won't see it yet. I'm a middle-aged man. I maybe, God knows, maybe other 40 years of life. I don't know, but we won't probably see the amount of work we are doing. We are contributing of a beautiful process, and it will happen. So again, as I said before, I remove my ego. And I'm just grateful that I'm part of a process, that I'm contributing to a process. I won't be surprised if in the next 50, 60 years, for a man, even before most likely, it will be absolutely cool having a mentor, be part of a coaching group, Well, it will happen. It will happen. So I'm doing my part. And if you don't mind, I take the chance to offer for the male audience, you can reach out to me. I guess you're going to see my social media account in the caption. I'm going to offer you 2 free sessions, 2 calls. Call number 1, we're going to have an assessment where according to the areas of your life that you want to work on, and then I will give you on the second session, totally for free, complimentary, an action plan where you can go by yourself. And you can I will give you proper tools that you can apply on a daily basis. You can overcome whatever you need to overcome. That's my offer for this podcast.
That's amazing. Yeah, I hope people do reach out to you and more people are aware about it. And so sorry, where were we again?
We were about the stigma
about
Malaysia.
The stigma. Yeah, correct. And also while you were talking, I was also thinking about one thing. I feel like a lot of people put pressure on men on like, oh, you have to communicate, you have to be vulnerable. Maybe I think it's more prominent in women. Like they want their partners, they want their fathers or their brother. Can you just like help me out? Can you be more honest with how you're feeling, right? They want their partners to be more vulnerable. But the thing is, I feel like it puts a lot of pressure in men to make a change now. But the change or this thing has to be learned since they're young. And I think this sort of culture and also the importance in mental health has to start when they're still a little kid, and parents have to address this thing since young. Have you ever encountered any parents or young boys struggling with mental health?
Oh yes, absolutely. And there is a guy coming is Amir, a local guy, which I already talked to him. He's in his 20s. absolutely a leader by nature,
Yeah.
incredible guy that I talked to him already, that I would love him to go and do men's circle for people in their 30s, you know. I tried already to link with a couple of universities if I can have a talk about life design. I cannot put it as a men's circle, so we like to do actually for guys and girls about mental health, but I will call it life design. So I'm trying myself because I see, especially in the younger generation, you know, it's very interesting. My grandfather was saying to my father, in my generation we were living much better. My father was saying to me, in my generation we were living much better.
Yeah.
So we tend already, always to judge the latest generation. I see the latest generation with a lot of care. I'm positive actually to see because the youngster, they have now so many tools that they can be either overwhelming or they can be very much empowering. So I believe the younger generation just need from the parents to be reassured that they are enough. Because social media can really destroy their own identity. They can really, if took in the wrong way, they can really create a lack and insecurities where they are and where they want to be. So I believe, I'm not a father, but I firmly believe parents should really empower their kids on, you are enough.
Correct.
You're always enough, without comparison to anybody else.
Yes, I think that's definitely a good message for everyone, and it has to start young. And I like what you said about people being judgmental, right? The thing is that maybe anyone, like any of our listeners right now, they say, okay, I want to change and I want to start looking into good resources so that I can improve myself. But then in their own circle, there's people who are judgmental, and you can change yourself to be more positive, but if people around you are going to be negative, they're still going to be negative. So how would you advise these people on how to handle in this sort of environment where people are very judgmental?
Your questions are amazing, eh? I'm telling you. In my 30s as well, I had to cut for a while a relationship with was a friend, which is not with us anymore, rest in peace. A friend, a brother. I did a lot of experience with him, was a kind of even of a mentor. But in a stage of his life, he was going through a lot of hardship. And anytime I was meeting him, they were vomiting out to me all the anger and judgmental with me, until the day I say, my brother, I love you, but for a while, we're not going to see each other. So, to reply to your question, even in younger age, there is so much the fear of, if I take care of myself, am I selfish? If I take care of myself, we got to understand something. In order to be the best brother, father, mother, the best human being as possible, we have to start on connecting within ourselves. Self-love, self-compassion, self-awareness. Only then, when I'm compassionate with myself and you are mean to me, I'll be able to forgive you because I'm able to forgive myself.
Right.
If I don't forgive myself, if I cannot be compassionate with myself, how can I be compassionate with others? So the inner work is fundamental, it's not egoistic. Once we work in ourselves, we're going to be able to put healthy boundaries. So if a friend or an environment is starting to be toxic, even though are your relatives, you do the best as you can to avoid any kind of contact. And then,
but it has to be uncomfortable at the beginning, right? To
it has to be uncomfortable. But then, when you're stronger, when we are, if a man or a woman is really unstable emotionally, right? It's very easy to get triggered by others. It's very easy to embrace the pain where there is no even need. But once you do your inner work, you become a man or a woman, very empowered, very comfortable in your own skin. If somebody comes, it doesn't trigger you anymore. So I always suggest, in the phase of growing, but you really start to prioritize your mental health, you gotta be with people that support you in your journey. If somebody makes fun of you, if somebody does not understand the importance, you let them go. You let them go to their journey. You take care of yourself. And they will see, because you're gonna give example.
I see this too. I went to like a mental health event, and there's this one man also shared this sort of experience where, I mean, he loves his mother, he loves his family, but then because he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, right? And then his family wasn't understanding at all, and it started to stress him out. So what he had to do was to basically move out of his house. But moving out doesn't mean he completely, leave his family to the rest of his life. He still comes back, but he just takes the time to fully focus on himself. And when he does come back healed, he also heal other people around him, and he also have, now his family also knows how to help him because he knows how to help himself. And I think that's a great message that you are also sending. I see my friends, and I heard this one quote, people say, hurt people, and healed people heal people. So I see, but healed people doesn't mean they're not going through anything at all. They do struggle still, but they know how to navigate it within themselves. So when they identify it and they know how to help themselves, they can tell others, okay, this is what you can do for me when I'm struggling. And I think that's what most people need to work on. Yeah.
Wow, you are in a beautiful stage. Absolutely, you said it right. And one of my mentors long ago said to me, Mauri, when you're going to heal yourself, you just said, when you're going to heal yourself. And I didn't get it. I was so young. But believe it, sometimes you read things on the book, but you're not ready to receive. It seems like things so difficult to achieve.
Right.
But when you experience in them, it's there that the magic happens. Because say, my God, I was able to forgive that person. I was able to forgive myself. It happened to me, so I'm not trying to sell nothing. I experienced it, and the power of really going through a important inner journey, because the reality around you changes. No more enemy. As you said beautifully, once somebody triggers you, you have all the tools to be compassionate with him or her. Yeah. Maybe she had a good day, a bad day. Maybe he has a difficult time right now. You let them go. And people doing so, people watch, look at you, say, wow. And you start to inspire them. If this guy do it, I'm going to do it as well.
Yeah.
Heal yourself, and unconsciously, whoever is around you is going to get healed.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
It's powerful, so amazing. Yeah. And this has to apply to all men and everyone. Everyone has to have this power in them, this skill, right? And this doesn't take just, 1 week go to therapy and then the next week I'm strong. It has to take, I've heard from, other psychologists, they say it takes months, sometimes even years to work on yourself. So however long it takes, as long as you do work on yourself and have the will for it, then you should be at a good spot at the end of the day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
It never stops.
Yeah.
Every day it takes 10 minutes for yourself. If I can give, let's give some practical tools, for example. Journaling, writing down, no application, no cell phone, no keyboards, a pen and a piece of paper, and write down, just simply write down what is going on your heart. You take 5 minutes. Yeah. Today I feel happy, today I feel a bit down, I'm nervous. Just write down what is going on your heart. 2 simple reasons. First of all, you get used to connect with what is going on in here without being distracted. Number 2, it helps to translate your emotions on a piece of paper. And once you read it, you create some distance between what you have in your heart and what you're reading. So it gives you, you acknowledge what is going on. And it helps a lot to say, okay, interesting, in the last 3 days I was feeling a bit sad. And then you start to question yourself. Yeah. Why am I feeling like that? And you start to dig in. It's a simple exercise. It's like going to the gym. If you and me, we decide to go to the gym and we go Monday for 8 hours, and then we don't go for the rest of the month, it won't serve nothing. But if we go there every day, 20 minutes a day, of course we're going to see a result. Right. Same things for our mind.
That reminds me of my friend as well. He shared with me that he was in the same position as what you told me before, where the guy couldn't identify what was going on in his life. He knows that he's struggling, but he couldn't put words into it. What am I struggling with? Am I depressed, or am I, not being kind to myself? he has no idea. So when he went to therapy, and his therapist said, okay, go back, and then every day whenever you encounter an uncomfortable situation, write down what are your thoughts and what are your emotions. So from not knowing what to identify at all to knowing, okay, in this situation I am angry, in this situation I am happy or sad, and this is how I react to it. And then slowly he changes that reaction to something that is healthier for himself. So yeah,
There you go.
it's the same message. I think it's very helpful for all men to understand. And one last thing I want to highlight here is, I actually heard this quite a few times recently, and I don't know about other people, but for me personally, I was kind of angry when I heard this. People say that, oh, you are responsible for your emotions, or you are responsible for your mental health. And on the surface level, I understand that we all are responsible of our emotions, but I just feel like it's a bit insensitive to say to those who have gone through years of trauma and then just go, oh, you're responsible for this, right, when the trauma wasn't caused by themselves. And so, and another thing about safe space is that the responsibility doesn't just fall on the individual who are struggling. It has to work in community. It has to work in a circle where everyone has to play a role, right? If one person just goes out, oh, I need help, and then the other person like, oh no, you don't need help, and then it just doesn't work at all. So it doesn't go anywhere. So my question would be, how can we as a society make it easier for men to talk about their feelings and reach out for help?
It's exactly what we are doing now, is to talk about a topic, to create events, open house, men's circles, promote coaching programs. It's exactly what we are doing, is to talk about a topic.
Yeah.
When the topic becomes, look, if you think centuries ago, a black person in South Africa, at the beginning of the century, a black person was going to the bus, and because he was black,
Yeah.
he had to sit down at the very end of the bus and discriminated. In that moment in time, there were people talking about, it's not right, how comes you can discriminate a human being because of the skin color. Then what happened? Talking about people getting out on the street, things have been changing. What we are doing, believe it or not, we are doing, as I said before, you never know the impact that can have one man's circle, one podcast, one video. You don't know. We is talking about the topic, and be honest about the topic without trying to make it too fluffy. To talking how important it is for a man to acknowledge what's going on in here and here. Simple as that. And more we talk about, more men, even though the more skeptical, they're going to say, you know what? I never open up with my friends because it's true. I thought to be weak if I was open up. But then when he feels somebody that is empathizing with him, is compassionate, say, hey, we can talk about men open up.
Right. So all we need to do, let's talk about it. So no sugarcoating, no, trying to be like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, don't push it away, don't brush it off. So even if a person doesn't, even if we're not going to a person, oh, let me help you, but even just voicing it out is still important for other people to hear, right? The same message. And it's not just for those who are struggling, it's also for those who help others who are struggling.
Nice.
Do you have any other messages that you would like to share with other men?
Well, surely first, number one, thank you very much. I'm honored, really, to be part of the podcast. You guys are doing a great job, really.
Thank you.
Number two, yes, for all the men, and not even all the men. If you're a woman, you're struggling with your father, brother, neighbor, male neighbor, or of course, husband or boyfriend, and you really see the pain of this man, which is not able to show love, show emotions, or process, or even taking care of himself. Now you know that there are outlets, like it could be the men's circle in Kuala Lumpur, in Penang, doesn't matter where you're based, or you can reach out to me, we can have a session online. But there are ways that there are communities or ways that men they can address, and try to find answer to their questions. So there's no more excuses now, there are places, so now it's time to take action.
Yeah, there's all the resources that we need now.
Yes.
All we need to do is just do it. Don't
Yes.
just think it. Yeah.
Yes, without the fear of judgment, because once you try, I'm sure you're gonna say, "Wow, I should have done it before."
Yeah, correct. True. That's amazing. I think we've had a pretty insightful conversation throughout
Thank you.
this podcast. I'm really grateful that you're sharing all your knowledge, all your personal stories. It's all amazing. And I hope people who listen to this find it really helpful, right? And start taking action. And it's okay not to be okay. And seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yes.
So, again, thank you so much for coming to our podcast. So, we will link all your socials below in our description, in our caption. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. So, stay tuned for our next episode. But until then, take care and bye bye.